Kind of like how in modern times, the countries that were once the most hardcore Christian became the most prosperous, but then they became the most secular and are now completely falling apart. During this time, the government is kind of decentralized. They don't have a king because God is king, but when Samuel becomes prophet, the people demand a human king, and Samuel's like, bro, you have God as king, what more could you want? And the people are like, yeah, but we can't see God, and everyone else has a king. We want a king we can see. It'll help us be more unified. God can still be the king, but our king can be like his vicar or something. And Samuel's like, okay, fine. So this shows that God might allow his people to be governed wrongly for centuries as a concession to the weakness of the people. This means that just because God's people do things a certain way for a while, doesn't necessarily mean it always has to be that way. So Samuel makes Saul king, and just like he predicted, Saul is kind of a jerk. Saul hates this kid David because the ladies are more impressed with him, and Saul even tries to kill David, but David still respects Saul during this time. David has a golden opportunity to kill Saul when he's taking a dump, but chooses not to. Saul shows that you're supposed to submit to authority even when the authority is bad. This sentiment is also echoed in Romans 13. Eventually, David becomes king and leads his people into a golden age, but he's not a perfect king because he lusts after this woman Bathsheba and gets her husband killed in battle so he can take her. He gets a prophecy that his kingdom is gonna fall, but one of his descendants will have a kingdom that lasts forever. So David foreshadows Jesus' eternal kingdom. Anyway, the kingdom was also really strong under David's son, Solomon. He built a magnificent temple for the Lord and had lots of wise proverbs that attracted kings and queens from all over the world, including the Queen of Sheba who gave him lots of spices. This shows that God's people are supposed to impress the world and engage with it with how much they transform society, and not just hide in their basements and scream at people all day. After Solomon's time, the kingdom splits into north and south, which shows that schism amongst God's people is always a real danger, like with how many Christian denominations there are today. When the kingdom splits, so do their religious structures, but both sides begin to turn away from the one true God and start worshipping false pagan demon gods, sometimes sacrificing their children to them, sometimes even doing so in the temple of God. During this time, God raised up prophets like Elijah who denounced the idolatry of the people. He did many miraculous signs to show the power of the true God against all the false gods, and he was often very alone, being in the small minority of people who still worship the true God. This shows that even in the visible church, the majority is not always correct. Elijah was faithful even though he was alone. This is why he's considered the most important prophet of the Old Testament. His successor, Elisha, did even more miracles, such as raising the dead, which foreshadowed a lot of the miracles that Jesus would do. God also raises up many righteous kings like Josiah, who reform the temple and temporarily cleanse it of idolatry. Josiah also rediscovers a lost book of the law, Deuteronomy, which contains many warnings against idolatry. This shows that a fallible religious authority can recognize infallible scripture. It also shows that when the church gets corrupt, we should stay and fix it instead of leaving it on account of corruption.